Thank you for joining me for another Quick Hits conversation. I'm Dr. Robyn. With me today, I have Dr. Cole Galloway, Stewart Wiggins, and Dr. Bob Choat. And I would like to ask the question, what is the connection between gratitude and happiness? Dr. Cole, can you kick us off, please?
The first thought I have about gratitude is it being sort of a door or a window to show me a situation that potentially I could be happy. As we were talking off camera, for me, that's changed dramatically, where many times I now open that door and I'm really filled with happiness watching someone else succeed, for example, where in past years in my youth, I would have looked at that and not thought a thing about it, not had any happiness. So I think gratitude for me is really expansive in the situations that I feel happiness.
I'm not going to say it's not possible, but I think that the correlation between gratitude and happiness is realized only with maturity and chronological age. I don't think at 22 or 25, I would appreciate the correlation between the two. You can derive happiness through others. But when I was 25, I'm not sure that I was too arrogant. Wouldn't have known the difference.
Yeah, that's very true. I know that, like, even in the midst of loss, if you embrace gratitude, happiness can come out from that. So it was 30 days ago today that I lost my dear cat, Dude. And yeah, I was sad there for a few days. But then when I started having gratitude for the time that I had with him, I started looking at that and I started smiling. And I couldn't stop smiling at all. And it was a very important moment when I was able to have that gratitude. So I think even in the midst of loss, when we can have gratitude for the time we had with a person or pet or anything, that will actually springboard towards happiness.
And that's interesting because I agree with you. I do think that gratitude can create happiness, but I also feel like happiness can create gratitude. It doesn't matter which one you notice first. I think they're so very interconnected.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I can tell Stewart or Bob or you, Robyn, how or when to have gratitude. I think there is a tendency for privileged folks like myself to look at people and go, well, you got to be at least happy for the things that you have. And I think that punching down is not helpful, and just reminds me that I should work on my own choices of gratitude and not necessarily do a lot of comparing. I think, as Stewart alluded to, with wisdom of age comes this. Just, you don't need to compare yourself. That leads to some interesting things that are not good. I have heard recently people say, well, why isn't this sector more happy? They've got at least this. And I think it's dangerous to put one's own sort of gratitude or thoughts about who should be happy, who should not, especially if, like, for me, you're working for the justice of others as a community organizer. It's very tempting to know someone else's situation. And again, like Stewart said, with age, you realize more and more, I just don't. I should just be grateful for what I have and help others attain what they'd like.
So, Robyn, I'll ask you a question. Do you think that there's a gender correlation there in identifying gratitude? Because I think sometimes guys tend to take the simplest thing and make it competitive, and it takes all the fun out of it.
I don't know if there's a gender correlation. I don't think if you can divide it that cleanly. I think there is a psychographic correlation that certain types of people are more likely to notice and be happy and notice happiness and recognize gratitude, and other types of people are less likely. But I don't think that there's necessarily a gender correlation related to it. That could be, though, the people who self-select into talking to me are more likely to be self-aware. So that could be my own blind spot and the kind of people I have the opportunity to talk to.
Yeah, I think a lot of people may not even really understand when we talk about being grateful or having gratitude like that. There could be that the cultural aspect of it, and as Cole mentioned earlier, as we see things in terms of context as well. So I will look at, and one of the things I keep near me is this all the time.
Aw,
Yeah.
how perfect.
So I keep it right over here, and it's just a reminder for me that no matter what happens, to find that aspect, to be able to give thanks for that, and be grateful for it. So I think this can work, I think, for most people. Again, if we evaluate it based on a person's life experiences, is one thing, and age, if you're able to see a certain way. And I know that when I was younger, unlike Stewart, because I didn't have that level of ego at 25 or whatever, because I had my experiences in terms of combat and seeing that, and then coming out of it alive, and because I went in at 17 years old, and then having been through that kind of stuff way back then, I was grateful for being able to do the stuff that I was able to do. So I think also, context in terms of one's experiences is important as well.
Well, I will say this. When I was 25, I was an Army officer. And so you were in the military, so you'll appreciate this. There's a lot of pseudo-machoism. Some
Sure.
of it has to be projected so that it's a survivability skill. So maybe my arrogance was just a survivability skill.
So that
It
makes
could
me
be,
think,
yeah.
that makes me think about something. Is gratitude, i.e. happiness, mushy? Like for example, there are often mornings where I wake up and I say to my husband, first thing, I'm so thankful to wake up next to you. And that is so mushy and so ridiculous, but I mean it and I feel it. So is it, if you are macho, you can't be grateful, you can't show too much happiness? Is there a dichotomy there?
Well, yeah, when you package it, yeah.
Yes, I mean, sure. I mean, I bet you that even though Bob and Stewart and I don't hang out together, this is our first time sort of seeing each other, our Venn diagram would be something like that you have to fight over this expectation, or at least, yeah, I guess it would be expectation of how to be. And I think something Stewart said earlier just made me remember that gratitude is kind of a choice. And once you realize, as so many things in life, that you only control you and that you have control in how you see the situation, that's a very powerful thing. And I think for guys that want to feel powerful, it's an internal thing, the understanding that I make choices about my life based on a lot of different things, versus I have to have something external to show that I'm powerful. And what we're talking about today is very, very powerful stuff in terms of how you see life. But not everybody sees it that way. They would say that maybe we are mushy, but I think we're all old enough to know, like, great, you think I'm mushy? I guarantee you, I feel very powerful against the tough things of life that I've seen. And these two guys, Stewart and Bob, have seen tough things. So let's listen to them when they talk about whether this feels mushy or powerful.
I think it's important to have a constant reminder. I'm like you, Bob. This bracelet I have on here says thankful. And my wife gave this to me a few years ago. So I have it on every day, and it's a constant reminder to be thankful. Because I think when you're young, you think that having the big house and the big car and all that other kind of stuff is really important. And as you get older, I will tell you, it doesn't mean a hill of beans. You take the greatest amount of happiness from the smallest things. At least I do.
Yes. Isn't that amazing, though, too? The things we thought were, the facade. And I think back to Robyn's issue too of macho, I think guys like us that are a little older need to reflect back and help the younger generation see that it is so powerful, that material stuff, and it's important up to a level. But like you said, Stewart, it just, at the end of the day, it's vacuous. It's such a facade.
Yes. And for me, because I'm here right now, and for each and every one of you, Dr. Robyn, Stewart, Dr. Cole, I am both happy and grateful for just having this new relationship in terms of my own life.
Thank you so much for each of you. That is our 10 minutes. I'm so grateful for you having this conversation with me about gratefulness and happiness. And I look forward to talking to each of you again very soon.